In today's 5-minute review, we're taking a look at a 4-foot tube light from Soonwell, the ST50 RGBW, or what they call the Sensei tube. Let's get into it. Alright, so we're going to jump right into this 5-minute review, what I liked, what I didn't like, and some tests along the way. Finally, my conclusion. Let's go. So this is definitely pretty solid in quality, both the light output, as you'll see from these specs. You've got great CRI, SSI, and all that, and a fairly accurate color temperature reading, which makes it pretty easy to use and mix with other lights. It's also pretty solid in build quality. I love that it comes with a nice carry bag that holds everything, and I actually really liked the super solid mount that it comes with. This is great if you want to use a grip head like I've been doing, or some other receptacle type mount like this one that it comes with. It's also pretty simple, which I like. There are not a ton of buttons on it. Something like the Godox TL60 tubes, for example, have tons of buttons, and I sometimes forget which button does what. Now, with this, you'll have to hop around a little bit on screen to get to the parameter that you want to adjust, but I don't think that anyone could ever get confused by the controls. The menus are also simple, although there are a lot of pages, but I think it works well overall, for me at least. The cable that's included for using wall power, which I'm doing right now, is nice and long, about 5 meters, with no power brick weighing you down or separating the cable in the middle. It also has a pretty decent locking connection to the tube, not just a tiny DC barrel connection, which I do very much appreciate. Now, I love how large and bright this is. Simple numbers probably don't explain it. It's on like 15% right now, but with a tube light like this, the way that the light spreads out is very natural and soft, and it gives a fairly wide and even illumination. So that brightness goes a long way, and it makes these type of tubes great for filling up a room with ambient lighting, or for lighting a tabletop full of products, for example. Of course, there are a ton of ways that you can use tube lights, and this is a review, not a tutorial, but I'll show you 1 or 2 simple examples of using the light with the camera settings just so you can get a general feel for the light output. Although I said I really like the mount setup for how I've been using it, there are drawbacks as well. If you want to mount it from one of the ends, for example, with a stand under it, you need to switch the brackets on the adapter and then do it that way, and it's not ideal. There are no screw threads on the actual body of the light, which would have been more convenient, but it also is fairly large and heavy, so that single point of contact might be a little So having 2 solid points of contact with this mount, a clamp style mount, is definitely more stable. Now, having the option to use wall power or battery power is also great, but this is where my biggest complaints come in. One, when you're using wall power, you can't turn the light off except by unplugging it, which is annoying. It doesn't charge the internal batteries when it's plugged in. You have to take them out and use a separate cable, which is included, to do that. Taking out the batteries can be a little tricky. There's a little tab to grab and pull it out, but it's so close to the edge and tiny that I had trouble getting my finger in there. There are also 2 separate batteries in this size tube. I guess they wanted to use the same batteries as the smaller size tubes, and they kind of link together, and then the first one pulls out the second. But I wonder if this will ever get messed up or broken and leave me with 1 battery stuck inside the tube. You also only get the cable to charge 1 of the batteries, and this means that you have to charge one, then switch and charge the other. It's all pretty time consuming at that point, and you can't just leave it to charge overnight when you get home from a shoot, because you have to switch them out once the first one finishes charging. Now finally, the display screen can flip its orientation as you turn the light over, so it's kind of oriented the right way, but if the light isn't clearly flipped one way or the other, it can sometimes not work as well as others, and the screen ends up being a little bit weird to read depending on where it is and where you are, and that can also make the arrow button adjustments a little bit awkward, which direction is which adjustment, depending on how everything is oriented and, again, how or where you're standing. But it's a small thing to mention. However, it did end up being confusing a couple of times. So, is this light worth the price or not? I think that's what everybody wants to know, and I think it will really depend on what you plan to use it for and how you plan to use it. For example, will the battery/wall power issue be a problem for you? For me, probably not, because I'll use it mostly plugged in here in the studio and then use the batteries just for backup. Do you like the mounting bracket? Again, I personally do, but I've definitely also seen lights with more versatile mounting options, compared to this. There are a lot of little things like that to consider. Also, well, I will show you the price at this moment in time. I don't like dating my videos with comparisons based on price, because 3 months from now there'll be a handful of new lights that either outperform this or have better prices or different sizes and all that stuff. So the price of this light could even change by itself depending on the country that you're located in. So take a look at it with the links in the video description, see the pricing, see the availability, and then decide what option works best for you. I like this light. I might have sounded kind of negative or overly critical, but it's important to keep in mind that just because a light isn't perfect doesn't mean that it can't be a pleasure to work with and give you great results and work well with someone's particular workflow. But anyway, that's about it for now for this 5-minute review. But if you have any remaining questions or comments, let me know down below and I will do my best to get back to you. Otherwise, don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Hope to see you next time.